and get whatever you needed. Listen, there was a time when only churches had scrolls. But this guy has his own scroll of Isaiah. All right? He has an iPod. Scrolling through it. Scrolling, right? Huh? Sorry. So, this guy is really well off. He's very important. The way the scripture tells us, Luke tells us, that he is an official in the high court of Candace of Ethiopia. Now, just so you know, you can go look this up on Wikipedia. She actually came from a country that's kind of like Ethiopia, kind of Sudan, kind of in that region. Very well known in the city of Moria, I think is the name of it, Moria. And they have pyramids and stuff there. It's kind of an African Egypt kind of place. So this guy is very important, all right? And Philip sees this chariot go by, and he hears this man reading the prophet Isaiah. So what does he do? He does what any good Christian would do. He chases the chariot. He chases him. He runs after him. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm in Birmingham, and I'm sitting at a red light at a street corner, and I see someone run up to my window, I'll roll those puppies up, I'll lock the doors, and then I just look at the light. I just wait. And as soon as it's green, I floor it. You know? You don't, listen, when people come up to your car, you don't just turn and start having a conversation with them. You know they want something. But Philip runs, it's almost comical. Philip runs to the side of the chariot, and this man's sitting here reading the book of Isaiah, and Philip's running next to him, and he looks at him and he says, "Do you know what you're reading?" I mean, think about it. It's almost comical how hard he was trying to talk to this guy. It's the first question. There are a ton of questions in this scripture. And in talking about preaching Jesus, we have to ask certain questions. I want you to point out that Philip's first approach with this Ethiopian was to ask a question. He knew that this Ethiopian was reading the scroll of Isaiah. And so he asks him, "Do you understand what you are reading?" Now, this passage of scripture we actually have. It comes out of Isaiah, chapter 53. Verses 7 and 8 are what's quoted in our passage in Acts. But I just want to read for you a little bit of Isaiah 53. Because it's not very pretty, to be quite honest. But this is what the Ethiopian was reading. "Who has believed what we have heard? And to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? For he grew up before him like a young plant, and like a root out of dry ground. He had no form or majesty that we should look at him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by others, a man of suffering and acquainted with infirmity. And as one from another who hide their faces, he was despised, and we held him of no account. Surely he has borne our infirmities and carried our diseases. Yet we accounted him stricken, struck down by God, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions, crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the punishment that made us whole, and by his bruises we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray, and we have all turned to our own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth." And that's where Isaiah picks up in our scripture. Now, scholars even today, if you go to a place like Emory or Asbury or Memphis Theological or Duke or any of the seminaries, the biblical scholars, even today, will argue about what Isaiah 53 talks about. In a way, we still haven't figured it out. Because, when you think about it, when Isaiah wrote this, he'd never heard of Jesus before. But, as a Christian, I look at that, I know exactly who it's talking about, right? It's talking about Jesus. It's talking about the suffering servant. Up until Easter, we heard all about this guy. We know who it's talking about. It's talking about Jesus. But the question posed to the Ethiopian is, do you understand what you're reading? Oh, man. If I had Christians who the first thing they'd ask when they looked at a scripture would be to say, do I understand what I am reading? Oh, man. If we started every conversation, every moment of our lives, asking if we understood where we were, do I know? Do I understand who God is? Do I understand where this person's coming from? Do I understand what you're doing, where your life is? See, Philip is a great evangelist. You know why? Because he cares about where this Ethiopian is. He cares about how he's reading the scripture. He says, do you understand what you're reading? Now, the Ethiopian, I think, could have said, yes, strange person who just walked up next to my chariot. I know exactly what I'm reading. Look, I'm well educated. I'm well off. I'm in charge of a bunch of stuff for this queen. Of course I know what I'm reading. It's the Bible. It's the scroll of Isaiah. Let me tell you what it reads. It's not what he says. He answers with another question. One of those, duh. The Ethiopian says, how am I supposed to know what I'm reading if someone won't explain it to me? How am I supposed to know? How can I understand unless somebody guides me? See, you want to know what's wrong with my generation? We don't want anybody else to guide us. What we've decided to do is rationalize all truth. There's what I know and there's what you know. Neither one is more right than the other. It's just the truth, okay? And so when we talk to some of you, okay, we don't mean any disrespect. We just want to claim what we know as truth. I've got my experience. If you came up to someone my age, or a little younger, and you say, do you know what you're reading? You know what they're going to do? They're going to say, yeah, get out of my face, you know? That's not what they're going to say, but they might be thinking it, okay? But think of what has begun, the conversation that happens when the Ethiopian looks at Philip and says, how am I going to know unless someone teaches me, unless someone guides me? And he invites him to get in the chariot. Incredible. Just blows your mind. I mean, he's not going towards Jerusalem, he's going towards Egypt. He's going towards Ethiopia. And the guy says, get in, come on. Let's sit down and we'll talk about this together. And they go off. Philip didn't go, I'm not going to Ethiopia. He didn't say, whoa, stop it, I'm not getting in your car. You're this funny-looking Gentile guy who, I don't know. I don't trust that. He doesn't do that. He sits down in the chariot and he talks about the scripture with him. It's just mind-boggling that Philip would just very cavalier have this conversation with him. Well, the way the story keeps going, okay, remember, the first question is posed by Philip. The first question is, do you understand what you're reading? The Ethiopian returns with another question. How can I unless someone guides me? And so they're talking about the scripture, and he asks another question. About whom does this prophet speak? You know, it's really hard to learn unless you're asking questions. You can't learn when you're asking questions. You know, being Mother's Day and everything, I want to share one of the sayings that mothers like to say sometimes. Do you know why God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth? Because you're supposed to do twice as much listening as you are talking, right? While I'm up here talking, it's very hard for me to learn anything. We have to listen sometimes. And I think that what Philip says is so incredible. He gets this opportunity. The Ethiopian asks, who is the prophet speaking about? And what does Philip say? Jesus? And then hop out of the chariot? No. He says, let me tell you who that scripture is talking about. Jesus Christ. He starts with that scripture, and he opens up all the scriptures to him. And he shares the gospel of Jesus Christ with the Ethiopian. It's an incredible story. Because they're going down this desert road, this wandering desert road. And the question posed to him is, who is this prophet talking about? But see, here's the thing. I don't have many people come to my office, it happens, but I don't have many people who come to my office and say, hey, what's this passage in Song of Solomon? What is this talking about? What I do have, very often, are people who will come to my office, or just in conversation, like, out and about, say, why would this happen to my family? Why would God let my dad die? I have people ask, which would God go to? Chick-fil-A or McDonald's? Everybody knows that answer. Chick-fil-A. No doubt.